Spotlight, spotlight, spotlight. Yes, we're going to be talking about the abilities of Hercules. I know I've sort of alluded to that earlier today in the video, which was about the deep dive, but this is in depth and this has a look at the spotlight itself. If you don't know already, myself and many other creators weren't allowed to talk about the champions that are coming in next month until tomorrow, but because Kabam decided to leak their own stuff, I can now do a video talking about the champions, Hercules and Hercules Champ. So this video is probably focused on Hercules. Links will be in the description to the spotlight, but we're going to go over this info here, so I get this kind of like presented thing from Kabam sent through. But yeah, we all know that Hercules is going to be a cosmic, and the mechanics are is a damage powerhouse focusing on skillful combat by performing feats of strength, which we've seen like intercepting using a heavy attack, intercepting using a special to unleash a flex of opponents, on opponents. As Hercules completes feats, he gains a large bump in his base damage output and can extend the duration of all buffs by significant amounts. The best part about the feats is that they can be carried forward through the quest. This is basically what we wanted. This is similar to the likes of Corvus Glaive and many other champions that have persistent charge based builds in their abilities. And yeah, let's face it, this champion's going to be amazing. If you've seen the deep dive, you'll know that when he does this, I love this, where he points like this and goes, "You are going down." So if you haven't seen that, you'll know exactly what I mean. I think this will be a high arena charting champion, as well as I think some people are going to be spending. I'm interested to potentially spend. Probably going to go against no, as my chair squeaks. Now I have skipped from that lovely little kind of infographic to the spotlight because the problem is it's just too wordy. Like I could just click on screen now. It's just like it's too wordy. It's too wordy to explain this champion in a nice possible way. So let's go to this kind of like more kind of a nicer and larger typed version that I can at least get a little like chunk and a bite into. Blessings bestowed from the gods, protects against personal injury. This, if you saw today's video, then you'll know that the champion reduces incoming bleed effects, which is handy if you've got yourself on double edge. So if you rock Suicide Masteries in a nutshell, this champion's going to be very good for Suicide Masteries. With strong resilience to conventional drugs and toxins, reduces the potency of incoming poison effects by 15%, and makes the recovery reduction from poison 20% less effective. So I think it means it's on there for longer, but it doesn't do quite so much damage. I think that's kind of like how it is. In any case, as I said, this is very much suicide friendly. And as even it goes further here, if using the willpower mastery, Hercules can heal from bleeds and poisons, so long as their potency isn't too crazy. This works really well for Liquid Courage and Double Edge. How do you play this champion? How do you ramp it up the most kind of quick and more efficient way? I think there's going to be two narratives. The skill part of things, I'm sure there's going to be incredibly skilled players out there that are able to intercept a dash opponent with any attack. Like we can intercept like that, but intercept with heavy attack, different story. I'm sure there's very skilled people able to do that. Stand up after being knocked down. No one wants to be doing that unless you want to be kind of like taking away your health. But I think strike a non-stunned opponent with any hit or a heavy attack. Unless you like, it's either the intercept, which is here, intercept a dash opponent with any attack. If you're intercepting, right? I mean, that's good to build up your strength. Or maybe you kind of like, I don't know, swipe back, get into a block, wait for the enemy to throw their heavy attack, and then interrupt the heavy attack with a heavy attack. Sometimes that works, sometimes it's very kind of close to do it. So I think a lot of players will kind of opt for the intercept dash opponent with any attack to build up the strength. And if you build up strength, it's good in damage. That's really the kind of the main thing. Build your strength. First time each unique feat is completed in a fight, gain 1% persistent strength for the rest of the quest, allowing Hercules to start each fight with strength equal to his persistent strength. So that's good. It's good. And completing a feat strength, 1 indefinite strength, each increasing armor penetration by that, and physical damage equal to 10% of the damage. Yep, good. And for 2 seconds after completing a feat, Hercules gains plus 777 attack rating and plus 50% buff duration. If a special attack is activated during this time, the bonus remains throughout the special attack. Good. Okay, look to do that. But as well, I think the narrative is that it's not overcomplication, because if you wait, as I said, waiting for a parry stun to fall off before releasing a heavy attack or even intercepting. So it's a case of like timing. Timing is essential in order to achieve that. So that's something I think we're all going to look forward to. Dashing back after landing a light or medium attack into a combo, inflict a non-stacking Infuriate debuff, making the opponent more aggressive and reducing their offensive ability actually by 60%. That's good. Not seeing anything like that in a while. Infuriate. I mean, I think this might be the first. In any case, it's good to see something original from a lot of new champions being put in, because that's the biggest problem that I've seen of late with new champions being put in. It's like, it's nothing that screams to me of like originality with anything new. It's just like copy and paste and add a few other abilities and stuff. Hercules seems to have a little bit of utility, especially with the SP1, an activation gain a true sense buff, bypassing the effects of miss and auto block. Handy to take against Overseer, Iron Man Infinity War, and lots of others that have the miss mechanic. Just trying to think of some others. Well, I don't think you don't think in Ebony more, but you know, there's many out there that kind of like have those both mechanics, and kind of interacting against them is great. Seems like as well this is where you build up a lot of kind of damage potential, whereas said here, Special 1 is the best used to set up big critical hits. Without these precision, or Hercules will not crit very often due to his lower base crit chance. So that's what you do. It's like an SP1 build, and maybe that's the rotation that you kind of like you go around in order to do some stuff. Maybe you do like SP1 quick build to SP2, especially where it says here the first grants a cruelty buff, increasing critical damage rating by 1,233 for 15 seconds, which is actually like a nice kind of way to kind of round build your special attacks, because that is going to be like some really nice stuff. And the potency burst damage dealt via strength during the attack is increased by 50% for each armor up effect on the opponent, up to a maximum of 200%. So if we're going up against champions that have armor up, man, it's going to be some stonks of damage. And yeah, just against that true sense, it's like, you know, getting an idea of like utilization against the likes of MODOK. As I said, Iron Man Infinity War, there's a large amount of interactions. But from an SP2 standpoint, like, you'd be able to do like a great amount of damage, especially if you build up your feats of strength. I don't think you're really going to see it very early on, and it will be a case that as soon as you get to the latter point or latter stages of your grind, you'll actually see something of a kind of a good potency with it. Because I think it's just right here with this particular footage that was put out by Dave. I don't think you're really seeing it that much because there's only 2 feats of strength on, and you will have to kind of like get to like further feats of strength, because that's from there's a 4-star there doing an SP2. It's pretty pathetic in all honesty. So it's going to be a case of like pushing towards the kind of future fights, and as well those feats of strength. If you don't have those feats of strength, then the champion's just going to be a bit kind of like meh. This is when the signature ability comes in, which looks to be quite cool, like the once per fight when receiving damage that would result in a knockout, gain an immortality buff, preventing death and making Hercules unblockable for 9 seconds. Immortality is paused during personal special attacks or while landing basic attacks. Is removed if struck by special attack 3 for 2 seconds. After completing a feat, gain combat power of 35%. Now I think in this case this is kind of like very a lot of comparisons could be drawn with Immortal Hulk that's just recently been put in, and as well very many other champions, especially it's like an interseed, isn't it? It's like an interseed if you're familiar with the Heimdall synergy. So yeah, that just it's helpful. What I said that this champion needs to be awakened to be good. No, it's fine as it is, but if you want to keep yourself alive a little bit longer, and maybe be that champion that you might consider for the likes of, and again, very early stages, I haven't even tested the champion yet. Is it going to be good for Abyss of Legends? Is it going to be good for Labyrinth of Legends? 2 very key factors to whether or not players want to use it any further. And the same thing could be said for like doing like fights in 7.2, Act 6, and doing the Grandmaster fight and keeping the champion alive longer if you make mistakes. So that's something to bear in mind as well. The champion does look very good. One big concern I would have if I was a Suicide Master user is the extent of recoil damage. So this is a 4-star version and recoils 5% health when it comes to recoil. Now that's the thing, isn't it? This champion is tipped to be used well with a Suicide Mastery build. One of the biggest problems of running Suicides is recoil, because essentially you're rotating around your SP3. So the SP1 and SP2 kind of like usage as Suicide Mastery seems to be actually very fair. And also with the health recovery, which, look, this is with a 4-star version, the ticks are quite good. 103 in the green versus 94 in the loss, which, you know, a lot of the time it's kind of like, depends how you build it or want to build it with Suicide Masteries, but I would say predominantly you're losing more than you're gaining, and that's the biggest problem. And even further dissecting the dot damage from from the loss from Liquid Courage and Double Edge versus the gain back here from Willpower and Recovery. 263 in the green versus 242 means that you are still gaining back. So that's, again, it's very, very positive. It's just a case of like you may not be able to keep up the momentum, because if you're always rotating around special attacks in a very quick time, then it does mean that you'll be recoiling quicker than you'll be gaining back when you regen. So that's something to bear in mind with that. But still, if we're talking about from a damage potency and survivability, and as well just kind of like fight to fight persistency, this champion actually looks pretty solid. And if you can get past the very early stages, I can imagine in the latter stages it's going to be very, very nice. But it's just getting those first feats of strength kind of like under your belt, and especially if you're doing large hit pool fights, it's going to feel more painful before it gets better, and that may be a bit of an issue. Like, you might kind of go, oh, by fight 3, I'm like, okay, well, things seem to be better now. But by fight 1, after fight 1, you're like, oh, I can't stand this. But the same thing was said for Aegon very early on, and other champions that require great persistency when going from fight to fight. But I guess that's going to be the thing, isn't it? Stand up after being knocked down, and kind of just kind of like, you know, let you know, this is after 4 fights. You'll have to kind of bear this in mind. You do have to get hit, unfortunately, and then it's the second part is like intercepting a dash opponent with any attack. Well, that's, you know, that's doable. And strike a non-stunned opponent with any hit after a heavy attack, and that's going to be a case of either you go into a parry stun, you wait for the last minute, and then you throw it straight after the stun ends. That may be your option, rather than kind of like doing the hang back and then kind of like doing whatever you need to do. It's kind of like, it's a tough one. I think this is going to be one of those champions that requires a little bit of skill, but at the same time, I think the payoff will be good, but you'll only really see that towards the 3rd and obviously 4th fight, depending on what you're allowed to gain per fight. Like if you're allowed to, but the thing is, if you're allowed to build 12 strength per fight, I don't think there's anything that says you can or can, but let's just say with whatever it is, you will have to kind of like see what's that, like, you know, if it's only 3 per fight, then it's only 3 per fight. But if it's a case you can build that up quicker, then that's happy days, and that'd be great to do it. Either way, very exciting to see this, and really looking forward to Hercules. I think a lot of players are going to be very interested in this champion, especially on the potency of damage output that can be achieved, and especially because this champion is very much suicide mastery friendly. So it's going to be good to see the extent of damage one can do. Especially if for whatever reason this champion can do stuff like that. Which is just like, just wow, just look at, just melting. And that's after 4. That's just 4 feats done. It's, yeah. So people might want a Hercules. In any case, that's been a video. Thank you very much for watching. Should be an America Chavez video coming up very, very soon. I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to stream tonight, but if I do, it'll be a late one. Look out for the notification on Discord and as well Twitter. Much love. Have a great day. Bye-bye.